Hello everybody and welcome to Bunland! Today I'm playing Grow Castle, which is a game I've played a lot on stream already, but never taken the time to appropriately describe. And I expect that many of you that are listening are other Grow Castle players, because you're the ones that I was just talking to move into this stream. I'm looking forward to it. It's a mobile game. It's a mobile game that is really great. It's really good. I've played it for 6 months. It's been worth it. That's the story I'm gonna tell, is the variety of reasons that I think this game is worth it. Really, really is. It's a tower defense game. It's light, it's simple, it's relaxing. It keys into something that I kind of wanted to talk about, which is just taking time to enjoy the frivolities of the moment, you know, just to like really be hedonistic. I feel like in our society a lot of times, and at least in my own personal experience, there's this pressure to be productive with your time, and like if you're not being productive with your time, you're doing something wrong, you're being bad in some way, right? So I kind of really appreciate the virtues that come out of just having time to relax, you know? It's a time to kind of get in touch with our feelings in a way that is only more recently being valued from the cultural perspective. At least I'm speaking a lot for American culture, you know? It's the society I reflect, the one that I've grown up in. But Grow Castle really checks all those boxes for me. I can just relax and not think, be mildly distracted, but not too mentally taxed. Have the option to do some very deep math when I do want something a little more challenging to chew on, and see that contribute to my success in the game. There's a variety of different ways to play Grow Castle that I've really enjoyed. I'm going to be doing a lot of this very passive one. A lot of idle games, or a lot of mobile games, are kind of plagued by this. The issue where there are advertisements available in the game to watch because the game's being monetized, and the reward from those advertisements is disproportionate to anything else in the game. You're going to be seeing me do a lot of what is called ad farming, where I know that every minute or like minute and a half or so, I'll be offered the opportunity, or 2 minutes, I'll be offered the opportunity to watch an ad after completing a wave. But only if I did completed a wave that was worth money. I'm doing a lot of what every Grow Castle ever do, which is called free auto battle. And let's see, sorry, getting a scene set up in the background here. I'll distract myself. There we go. The free auto battle doesn't make anyone drop money. The monsters stop dropping money, so it's not going to give you an ad, but there's a limited resource you have, timed auto battle, that will make them still drop money. And I've utilized that just now, and will continue to provoke the opportunity to watch an advertisement for an amount of money equivalent to about what it would take if I were to do the give me gold please, I'll do it manually, or I'll use my timed auto battle probably 4 times. I need to clear 4 of those waves to make as much money as I just got for the 30-second ad that took about as long as a single wave. You know, that's good. It takes me about 15 minutes of idling to get as much as that ad offered. What up, Carter? I know you play Grow Castle. You're sitting right around wave, like, what are you, like 78k at this point? You're getting there. You're progressing. The game has a really, really long, slow curve. It's interesting. There's this one really powerful resource, the skill points, and filling out the skill tree. It's kind of the biggest thing, the progression, that you're awarded skill points for at intervals at certain waves, and then later once you get units to level 10,000, which takes a while to get to that point in the game where you're even feasibly getting units that high. 73k, I placed you 5k further than you were. Cool. Carter and I share the same guild, the Thunder Thumpers, my loving Bunbun name for our guild, that contains profanity, content warning, coming up, you know. I know that everyone has different limits around and comfort with curse words, so be aware there will be some exposure here. But yeah, we share the same guild, which is fun. I think that one of the strengths of this game is the social element. As soon as I got involved in some Discord communities with the game, it became way more fun. You know, having so many other people to connect with over the game is a strength in any game. So this game did the guild system well. It provides a moderate challenge to all the players. There's a 5-day season. How many waves can you clear in a season? You know, here we go. Let's fire off the timed auto battle wave in the background here. I'll get to my spreadsheet in a moment. I'm going to talk about the math in this game and how fun it is. But the social element is kind of driven by a leaderboard where we compete in a 5-day season to see who can clear the most waves during that time, right? So there's a variety of ways in which you can clear waves faster. And of course, if you're playing this like an idle game that you want to progress as quickly as you can, you're clearing waves as fast as you can. And yeah, I see what you're saying there, Carter. Right. The engagement with the community is pretty much the only way you stay around. And it's, you know, again, it's the reason that I missed ending the wave and catching my ad, so I'm burning a little more of my timed auto battle by accident. Whoops. Right, it's the only way to really be pulled into the game where I'm playing months of it. One of the other reasons is because a lot of idle games kind of promise this very long late game where you're essentially just watching the numbers get larger and larger, and Grow Castle does this very well with a late game that progresses very gently, very slowly, and promises a lot of development over a very long period of time. And I've got a lot of glory to show off here that I've got, 500,000 waves, you know? It takes about between 20 and 50 seconds to clear a wave, depending on how far along in the game are you and how much of the perks have you gotten that speed up your wave, you know? So I'm boasting quite a bit of playtime. There are only a handful of weaknesses to Grow Castle that I'll be honest about. One of them's the monetization element. There's ads that are pretty much, if I want to be progressing really quickly, I'm going to need to use. There are, unfortunately, there are a lot of microtransactions. There's a store where you can spend a lot of your real life money on in-game things that are consumable and will disappear in their benefit to you within days, or you'll consume them that quickly. Nice. Hi, Delilah. Oops, I meant to say Bunbun. I like that. Delilah is a name I haven't had. I hope Tristan is still there. I know that you two are cousins. We'll see. He said be right back. I didn't catch if he was still there. Glad to have you hanging. We got the Bun Kids. Let's go. We in Bunland. Thanks for being here and helping set that element of the space. Love those rabbit emotes. So really good, very long game, lots of longevity, promise to play for a long time. Those skill points though, they take forever to get, and they're so strong. Right, I was talking about some of the drawbacks. Regrettably, a lot of microtransactions. I know a lot of people, of course, that have... Delilah's your BFF. Nice. Now, I wonder if you're speaking of the Delilah that I know that used to go to our school, since we share that in common, knowing each other in physical life. Or if it's a Delilah I don't know, which I almost expect is more the case. Especially since that family that contained Delilah moved to Australia. We're a little distant now from them. Let's see here. We got these coming in. I was really hoping the game gets interesting, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why this is so interesting. There are ways in which you can make the wave more challenging for yourself and make it more likely that you'll start losing, that make it progress faster. So a lot of the game, in terms of trying to get good and be competitive on those leaderboards, is to make your build so powerful that you can take these debuffs, you can take these penalties to make the wave go faster. And my build's doing very well right now. The primary item that affects this most is called the Devil Horn. There are Not the Delilah that was going to our school. Got it. I am unfortunately going to moderate that message because I'm making a very deliberate and conscious effort to not name our school on stream. Of course, it'll be in the replay, but I'll make the effort to limit that exposure as much as possible. So anyway, I should be waving, because you should always be waving. This is one of the other things about the game that I think is actually a drawback. You're always trying to be waving. Sorry, I was talking about treasures and getting ahead of myself. I'm going to talk about the always be waving drawback or fun element in a moment. Some of the strongest buffs that you get are from the treasures that you equip. And there are many that increase just your overall damage of everything you have, which is really strong. I have a lot of summoned units. It's one of the types of units you can have. This is a really strong buff. Then there's that devil horn that we were talking about, and it makes the monsters more strong, and it adds bosses that you have to face at the end of every wave. But you get to clear a couple waves at once, which is going to radically increase your pace. You're going to be scoring much higher on the leaderboard if you can hold that pace, doing both those waves at a time. This is challenging for a couple reasons. One is that obviously the wave became a lot stronger. There's more monsters, they're more powerful, there are bosses, more than I've ever had to face. The other is that monsters' power scale with your wave number. So as you get to higher waves, the monsters get stronger. Now, you're making money along the way, either by killing the monsters or through a couple benefits in the game that allow you to generate money passively over time. But you have to use the money to upgrade your units to do more damage, and if you're not doing enough damage to keep up with the wave, it's going to be hard. This is the cool thing about the game, is the pacing. You need to be at a place where you're still beating the waves, and they're not stronger than you, and you've got enough gold to meet them there. But you're trying to go as fast as you can. It's easy to go too fast and reach a wave that you can't beat. Hit a wall, that is to say, in the game. So there's this really interesting, you kind of feel out and watch, like, I'm watching the battle here right now, and I'm doing well. Nothing is getting past half the screen. Everything's dying very early. So in wave, I'm very dominant. I clearly have enough damage to keep up with this. Even with a big wave of flyers right there with the bosses, I held fine. And then I watched the bosses, and it looked like I have this unit, I'll highlight them, the Smith in the back here, that restores 60% of your health, something like that, a lot of your health. It's basically an extra life. A very powerful hero that I'm going to expect to see trigger when the bosses are wailing on my castle, but I need to have enough health to beat the bosses while they wail on me. We'll see. I'm going to check some DMs on the side here and respond to one of them. Ready up. For some reason, I have some friends that have not been getting my notifications that I'm going live. So I'm double checking, and I'm definitely online. We're good. So it is. Maybe it's on their end. In any case, I've really enjoyed that balancing act. I can show you that this Devil Horn has a setting, it can go to wave +2, which makes it even more powerful. I can't beat this. Dude, yeah, playing with builds and learning new metas is the really fun bit of the game. That's why I want to get to the part where my build doesn't work. Because then, as soon as you start dying to a wave, you start to learn where your weaknesses are. Here I am trying, I just died right away. I can't even keep up with ground troops in the +3 wave. It is so powerful. I am nowhere near enough skill points. I have not filled, for the record, of course, this is a skill tree that has a lot of it filled out. I have a lot of skill points because I've got 500,000 waves, and I'm pretty far along in the game. Let's see here, 31 crystals. Let's do another 20 skip. You can spend your crystals to skip waves, which of course is going to throw me further and make them even stronger. I'm trying to break my build right now, because once your build breaks, it becomes clear to you what your weakness is. If I want to jump up to that +3 wave, immediately I'm going to need a lot more damage on my ground troops. The people that are holding back my ground troops are not up to snuff, need a lot more money. Or a lot more bonuses on the skill tree to offset it. I'm looking forward to seeing, I know that I'm close to my wall. I've been bouncing off my wall here and there and spending my money, and I'm keeping up. The money I'm making is enough to cover me. And of course I can, if I'm ever falling a little behind, take some time to do this and run my gold build and get some ad waves to make a little extra cash, keep on top of the wave I'm at. But once you get to the point where your build is breaking is when you can start adjusting it. And there are a lot of things to adjust in your build. As you progress through the game, you end up gaining access to a whole bunch of items that I have in my spreadsheet cataloged on the side so that I can kind of view them all at once and consider what I might equip to people to change what their bonuses are and what their exact focus is. There I go missing, ending the ad wave and watching my ad. Whoops. You know, so if I was dying to bosses a lot, I might be like, it's time to take this ring that does extra boss damage and a bunch of critical damage and throw it on someone who's doing a lot of damage to the bosses. Maybe I need to adjust. And then you get to play. This is the part of my spreadsheet where I consider, who do I give the money? Who do I level up? How well are they performing? Yeah, I just got that DM from my buddy. They did not get the notification. I suppose that's that. We'll figure out what that's about eventually. But this is the fun part. There's so much strategy. I missed another one. I keep firing this altar in the back. This altar gives you certain bonuses. You can change it to a number of things. On this build, you have multiple decks that you can configure differently. This is my Make Me Money build. There's one that just increases gold from monsters quite a bit. I think it's 50%. Yes, and good of you to point out, Carter, I've got this crazy spreadsheet, and I go all mad scientist. And that's the way that I play the game. One of the things that I like about this is there's a variety of ways to play it. Whoops, let's not show off that. I have an app called Blacker that blacks out my screen, which is very useful when I don't feel like watching ads, but I do want the money. So I'm just waiting for that to run in the background. You do not have to do this level of math. One of the strengths of this game is that you can intuit very well where the money ought to go, and just follow your intuition and spend where your build's need is. It'll work. Boop. Get back to waving. Switch to my second deck as my waving build right now. And set it on that free auto battle on its way. Okay, it's going. We'll watch it. Right, and I go deep on the spreadsheet because I love doing math. So, you do, okay, there we go. I see you and Carta appearing on Twitch. You do see the stream this time. That's good. That's good. We're getting somewhere. You were the one, of course, that I was off screen talking to in DMs. We're working it out. But I love doing math, so I love approaching the game this way. You don't have to do math like this. Carter's been really successful at the game and has not been doing math like this. It has not been long enough for me to do an ad wave. Just gotta let it run, gotta let it run. It's an idle game, gotta let it run. I'm a little discouraged at how on top of the wave I am, because I really want to break my build and show off the part of the game where you have to cleverly spend your money and fix it, or change some of the heroes you have equipped, or some of the other, things that you can configure to get it on. There's a good variety of things that you can change, from a research lab that adds bonus damages to specific types of enemies, or the heroes that you put up there, orbs that you attach to heroes that have been prestiged, reached level 10,000 for various bonuses. Oh, I have my power glove equipped. That's why I'm demolishing all these waves. I'll take that off and replace it with the horn that makes more monsters come and makes you go a little faster. I think that right now, and of course, depending on how strong your build is, you'll balance how much of the make me faster but make me weaker things that you can have equipped. Right now, I'm bouncing between being able to run the +2 wave with the devil horn, as long as I've got my damage treasures equipped, like that glove, which we've seen has made me very dominant in these waves, or I'm on the verge of holding, where I was previously holding, the triple horn, where I'm running 3 different horns, including this little puppy. And I'm going to drop right over that power glove, which I'll admit, for anyone interested in the game, is unconventional. Oftentimes this summon skull ring is not super powerful for people, but my build's a little weird. It affects summoning type people. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 summoning units here. My build is all about it. So I get a lot of payoff from the ring. The glove, though, is so strong that the ring is only about an inch more powerful than the glove for me in my testing. So that's that. Now we can see I'm leaking ground troops. They're starting to tickle my castle there in the middle of the wave. I've taken that off, and I'm seeing how my build really works under a little more pressure. I'm looking forward to the bosses, though, because that's where my build has been having the hardest time, is when they start wailing on my castle. Necromancer went off. We're okay. Whenever I'm watching the bosses at the end, we're going to be looking at this little buddy up here that I've got on the top right. This is the Necromancer. They have a debuff that makes everyone lose like 167% of their defense or something. It's ridiculous. The amount of damage increase that Necromancer offers is so much that it is mandatory in every build and is just so powerful. So when I watch the bosses come, I'm looking for the Necromancer's blue bar to fill up and for their ability to go off. That reduces their defense, because as soon as it does, they melt. They melt. And I need enough health to pull me through to the moment Necro goes off. And Necro went off right away there. So I got the bosses to melt pretty quickly and still finished with full health after I had used Smith for the second health bar. So that wave went pretty well. When we see a wave where the bosses run onto the screen right after Necro has gone off and we have to survive all of Necromancer's cooldown, that'll be the one that really tests my build. We'll see if we make it. I'm going to keep dropping 20 skips and skipping 20 waves at a time to get closer to where my build breaks. I seem to be a little further ahead with my gold spending than I expected I would be. There, wail on me, take me down to half health, I'm fine. Yay, Tristan, you're back. Vivi's going to be very happy to see you. I think that, Vivi, you've used your real name in my chat before, so I think that you're comfortable with me addressing you such. Let's run more money, give me more money for when my build breaks, so I have money to be creative with to solve my problems. Money's important. Money's how you get damage and win the game. There are a lot of ways to increase the amount of money you make also, and those are pretty important buffs. We'll see if Vivi comes to life in the chat. I'm sure that she'll be happy to see you. So I'm going to be looking at my spreadsheet. I want to share a little bit of the math that I do for this game and how it's made me so successful. Because my build has performed very well with units that are at very low levels relative to the wave that I'm playing. I've been very impressed with how affordable I can make my build. And that's how I've been winning the game myself. I'm like, I only have so much money. I'm not going to do any of the pay to win stuff. I want to make my build work on a budget. Basically I look at the game and I think to myself, okay, if I have a bunch of people doing damage, a bunch of units doing damage, some amount, I've got a whole bunch of damage reports here that kind of catalog how much I've seen them doing over time, so that I can get a really clear average. Right now I'm looking at 38 reports spanning almost 20,000 waves, and I can see the average damage my units are doing over time. That's going to be an important piece of data for me to input into this spreadsheet. And I realize I should be showing you the spreadsheet. Here's my list of damage reports. I've got all my units and the numbers associated with them and the wave that I've reported damage from. I've even got some notes where I've marked down how much money in billions that I'm spending on people so that I can kind of track where does it make a difference. Do I notice them doing more damage? This is the fun part of tweaking your build and really determining what next will help me in terms of where I spend my money. And I've really enjoyed the depth of the strategy in Grow Castle, and that's been part of what's kept me with this game for so long, is that as I've gone deeper and dug deeper into what the data can show me, there's been more and more hints and more little ahas about the shifting needs of my build as I've gone over the course of the waves, and things have scaled a little differently here and there. It's been very interesting. So anyway, now that I've got this average damage, I'm going to go over here and look at if they're doing that much damage, they're worth something, right? And they're a certain level at which point they're doing that damage, and to buy their next level with my gold is going to cost a certain amount of gold. So I think the important thing to consider in terms of how much I approximate they'll be worth in terms of how much damage they'll get out of the gold that I spend, I want to consider this. What is their average damage per next level cost? That number is one that I am using in my calculations and have been successful with following kind of the roadmap of. That's what I've been using to determine the overall power of a unit and how much I should. You find calming hearing this for a third time. That's so funny, Carter. It's good to know that I've spoken about this that many times on my stream, but this time I'm going to go all the way through it. I'm going to go in depth. So I'm looking at this, and it's an interesting number that comes out to somewhere in the dozen range, right? It's interesting to me that the gold cost and the average damage they're dealing are numbers that are so similar to each other that I got these really clean looking numbers out of that calculation. Whatever math the developer did for this, the relative nature of gold and damage was pretty close to, I imagine, this idea that one damage was, or one gold was about 10 damage on average, or one gold was about 8 damage on average. But what I'm looking at here is that town archers do a lot of damage per what their next level costs. Their next level cost is often lower. It scales slower than the heroes do. So the entire time I've been playing, I've witnessed that they boast a very high number here. And so what I ended up doing, trying to decide how much I gave my other people, is I was just like, well, how good are these heroes relative to the town archer? Let's consider, I have a lot of hidden columns in this spreadsheet. I have done a lot of math. I have considered a lot of figures that led me nowhere. I, just did a lot of math to consider, like, what, I'll get into it in a bit, but the numbers that matter are the ones that I'm going to reference. There's a lot that I explored, like, what is the damage per their net worth? How much money have I given them over the whole, course of what I've fed them, and how much damage are they doing relative to that? Is that going to point me in the right direction as to where to spend my money? Maybe it is. I don't know. I could do all of my algorithms and point them at this instead of at the raw damage per next level cost. But what I've been doing is working, so I'm following that logic. Let's see. What I want is to hide this. I wanted that one column to come out. I wanted to talk about that one. Because in this column, I consider what is the ratio of a unit's damage per next level cost to the next level cost of the town archer ratio. I want to know, relative to how dang good those town archers are with the money I give them, how are you doing? How are you doing? And what's this game called, Tristan? This game is called Grow Castle. It's a mobile game. Ooh, I'm getting close. I just noticed looking down at that wave that I got pretty low on health. I'm going to go ahead and run one of those money-making ad waves in the background there. Game's called Grow Castle. It is an endless tower defense game, and it's fun. It's fun, and I'm going to go into some of the math I've done to beat this game, because you get a variety of units to equip that all do varying amounts of damage or crowd control effects or buffs to help you along. And I've got a lot of damage dealers. I think that having a lot of people doing damage spreads out and evens out the load and means that I can run them with lower levels each. And because levels become more expensive in scale as you go higher, I think that having a lot of people at a lower level is going to be a lot cheaper than having a couple people on higher levels. And so far that has seemed to hold up for me. I like, Carter, your advice there. If you want to play, be prepared to invest time for fun. Yes, absolutely. You could play this game very casually and just pick it up and do a handful of waves every now and then, but you're not going to progress extremely far or extremely fast. This is a game that I don't think I'd necessarily recommend to bun kids, to be honest. Just because I think that it's slow moving and rewards a lot of patience. And I don't think that it will hold the attention of younger people long enough for it to start giving you rewards for the time that you're giving it. It does very well for you to check in with a 15-minute play session twice a day. You could do that and make a lot of progress, but that's assuming you're running it in the background the whole time. Here's where I get to talk about one of the drawbacks and weaknesses of Grow Castle I wanted to touch on earlier, which is that while the game is closed, you make no progress. Straight. You make no progress while the game is closed. Many idle games and incremental games offer some form of offline progress that's usually a little less than your online active playing progress, but so that, you know, a lot of things about the game are that it just runs in the background and you make some room, right? You make some progress. Oh, really God. I had a wonderful day at the park today with our summer program. Very nice. Got a lot of sun, played a lot of frisbee, roller skated quite a bit. Good and tuckered, good and tired. It's very nice. Should have made myself a cup of coffee. In any case, while the game is running, you can have it doing this, running waves automatically, so you're getting waves in the meantime. And also, like I said, there are some passive gold generators, and you'll be getting those while the game is open and running. I wish that the game included offline gold gain, at the very least. You can cap it at a certain amount, that's fine, but in any case, you gotta have the game open. Many people that play the game seriously have dedicated devices, either an old phone or a tablet that they can just devote to running the game. Myself, I run the game in an emulator, as well as moving it down to my phone when I want to play more actively. It's made for the touchscreen control interface, you know, so it's nice to put it back there and not have to mouse your way through it all, though that's certainly possible. And I've also set up a bunch of, you know, hotkeys that press certain parts of the screen in my emulator to do some of the familiar sequences menuing about the game. But it requires that you leave it open in order to make meaningful progress, which means that part of the game is managing your uptime, just managing keeping the game running. I'm going to do a 20 skip, but before I do, I'm going to put this glove because I don't want there to be any chance that I fail this wave. I don't want to spend my crystals and lose the wave. So we'll give it the power glove security. That's a free pass. But yeah, I've invested plenty of time into the game for it to pay me back. And I have the means and the available devices and capability to run the game in the background 24/7 and not have it on my main phone and, you know, just be able to come back to it every now and then. So it's worked for me. Now, I should talk about ratios for a minute, because to a Grow Castle player, talking about what's the ratio of your unit is basic. Now, let's see here. Carter is sharing something really insightful in the chat here, that you've played for 2 months and you're at 73k waves. And you're not, and I wouldn't say good or bad, you're not as far along the game as many players are. But you definitely, at that point, can start to feel what late game will be like. Which is interesting to say that 2 months hasn't even brought you into late game. 2 months has brought you into the early mid. I think that mid game starts around 150. It's quite a long game. And things shift around 200, 250, the game changes again. And that's where I'd say you start to shift into late game. I am edging late game at this point at 500,000. I'm starting to really move into late game. I don't know that there is really a post game past late game, because the late game just extends so long and so gently. See, well done game. You also can't wave constantly, right? And that's the challenge, is can you make a build efficient enough to continue waving and not need breaks because you hit walls? There is a function to replay waves, just to go back a handful of waves and then go ahead and grind some money on them, on the easier waves that you can beat. I have never done that. I have always only moved forward, and I'm proud of that. And I did a lot of math to achieve that. Speaking of math, I'm over here. I've got this very important number, damage per next level cost. I'm going to use this as a metric to determine a unit's general worth in terms of the money I ought to spend on them. Though there are other things that make units worthy and worthwhile to have on the bench. Then there's here. I'm looking at what is your ratio of damage per next level cost to the town archers. If the town archers are worth a certain amount, oh sorry, I should talk about ratios. Backing myself up. Your units have a level. You spend money, it increases their level. You're at a current wave. That determines a little bit of how strong the monsters are. You want to consider how strong is my unit compared to the wave that I'm at. I'm going to want to know the ratio of their level to my current wave. When we're talking about ratios in Grow Castle, we're talking about that. To get an idea of how strong a unit is, it's a little arbitrary. My unit's level 1036. Okay, but is it 1036 at like wave 3000, or is it 1036 at wave 1000? Because that's a big difference. That's either a very strong or a very weak unit, given those different contexts. So we look at the ratio to give a clear picture of what approximate power level my unit is at relative to the wave. And the ratios that are effective will change over the course of the game. As you get later in waves, you can manage lower ratios because you've got a bunch of skill points and really good items and other bonuses to cover the difference so that your build costs less gold. What I've done here is I've said I'm going to manually set what ratio I kind of want my town archers to be at. I'm going to consider their damage per next level cost. I'm going to consider everyone else's. Then I'm going to get this relative ratio of what's your damage per next level cost compared to in ratio to the damage per next level cost of the town archers. Now I have this column, which is showing me kind of the relative damage per next level cost worth of my units compared to the town archers. This I'm going to use to say, okay, my target ratio that I want to be at the wave that I'm at, I'm going to set manually what the town archers are. And then I'm going to say, hey, you, Dorothy, your ratio, your target ratio should be a ratio of whatever your damage per next level cost to the town archers is. So I'm going to take this target ratio, I'm going to multiply it by your worthwhile compared to town archers ratio, and say that's the target ratio you ought to be. So all of these ratios of my heroes and other units are being determined by their general worth compared to town archers. I adjust how much money I really want to be giving the town archers, and everyone else's ratios will move with that. So basically I'm trying to make a build that will efficiently allow me a lowest town archer ratio, and thereby, because of the way that I'm doing my math, lowest hero ratios, and when they're low, they're cheap. And if I can win, that's great. Speaking of making money, let's run another ad wave. That's essentially how I've been using this spreadsheet. There's a lot of other math I'm doing here that's rather relevant. It's going to require input, of course, of the current wave that I'm at. That's going to change a lot of the numbers here. Determining what level do my units need to be to match this wave with the ratios I'm going for. I'm looking at if a unit is below its target cost or its target level, how much gold is it going to cost to get them to their target level. And as you can see, I have several units, Alice, the Giants, Golems, and Angels, who are below their target ratio. I recently made adjustments to my build that made them more powerful. So suddenly they deserved a lot more money than they had been given previously. So when I see myself leak some ground troops, I'm like, well, Giants and Golems are some of the units that should be hitting those ground troops, and they are underleveled. So that's good. I have effective money to spend. These are getting a lot of damage per their next level cost. This gold is giving me a lot of damage per dollar. It's good. That's a good place to spend my money. I know that I'm going to get a lot of mileage out of spending my money on these units. The fact that spending my money on these units also covers my build's need is great. It means that the build I'm using is actually pretty balanced in terms of what it's about to cover. And although I'm losing now, it's encouraging. Well, I'm not losing, I'm trying to lose. Come on, get a break, darn it. Anyway, that's what I'm looking at. Now I've chosen a very specific town archer ratio. You can also see I've listed what my current ratio is, what level are they now. And my town archers are much higher than that. Oh no, that wasn't an ad wave. That's right, we just did that. I need to clear 3 and then I can do another ad wave. That's 1. We're looking at my current ratio. So my town archers are a very high ratio, and I'm looking at how low can I make them? How much of their money can I move into heroes that are doing better damage per dollar than them? Nice, you got some snacks, Tristan. I see you in the chat there on YouTube. That sounds good. Barbecue seeds. Barbecue seeds, interesting. I wonder what kind of seed, like pumpkin seed, or what kind of seed would you do with barbecue? Not like sunflower, not pumpkin, maybe pumpkin. That sounds interesting. I'm curious what kind of seed. Let us know if you can. Mango Arizona drink. I've got water and a complete cookie. I love the complete cookie. Cookie that's got a bunch of protein in it, but is also still sweet and kind of a cookie. Sweet. Wonderful. That's what I'm gonna do to snack my way through the stream on my way to dinner. Yum. In any case, I've set these town archers at a very specific ratio very deliberately, because I'm kind of looking at how much you're over level right now, right? You're 38,800. At the ratio that I want you to be at, you should be 28,556. So as my wave gets higher, their target level is going to get higher. And eventually, if I stop leveling them, their target level will be 38,800, because that'll be the wave that I'm at. Now, that's going to be in quite a while that they get to that point. I have this ability to calculate on my spreadsheet. This is my current wave. This is the wave that I'm considering that I will target. How much money will it cost me to get to that target? As you can see, I put the number 100,000 here and the difference to target. So it's like, well, if I was 100,000 waves from now, what would I need to spend to be there? The answer is about 800 billion on your castle. 100,000 waves, of course, is going to take me about 21 days to complete. So that's fine. This is far away. I'm going to make a lot of money on my way there. I'm going to make a trillion, 800 billion. I'm considering a very long period of time right now. But the reason I'm considering that period of time is to illustrate the fact that at that time, my town archers will still need to drop about 5,000 levels and a net worth of 184. They've already been given 184 billion more than they need for that level. Let's talk about 200,000 waves. They're just about at the ratio I want them to be. My town archers are going to be over ratio for a month and 2 weeks. It's going to be a while before I ever care to level them again. I have managed to structure the build in a way that I've made many other units even more valuable to level than my town archers, because of the low level they are and how cheap their levels are. So that's cool. That's cool. That's good. Anytime that I can get my town archer target ratio lower, I know my build is becoming more efficient. If I see that it needs to be higher and I need to spend money on town archers to make it, that means that could probably change something. Could probably change something to make it better. So right now I'm very happy that my build has promised. Now here's how I chose this target ratio. I'm like, if I look at how much these guys cost, I want the current amount of money I've spent on the build to be about the same, right? These guys are costing a lot, so they'd be increasing my worth. But let's say I just drop the town archers and say that money was spent too much. I want the amount of money I'm dropping in damage to equal the amount of money that it says I should spend. So then I'm effectively just moving my money around into more effective places. And we'll see how the build does from there. So I have calculated right here at the bottom, how much does the sum of all of my damages, my damage overage, or sorry, what's the sum of my damage costs, and then savings is what's the sum of my damage overages. And I want those numbers to be about the same, because then I know that I'm constructing a build that's utilizing about the same amount of money that I've put into it so far, which I know is an amount that I can afford, and will in fact put the money in more effective places that'll probably enable me to go for a lower town archer ratio by the time I get there. So I'm estimating that I will get my town archer down to at least 0.0517 with this build and the amount of money I've already spent on it. Speaking of money, It's time to run one of those ad waves and get some more of it. So I'm very encouraged about how low I'm able to tweak my town archer ratio and see that the build should be effective. Of course, these numbers are always changing. As I increase in wave, I'm now a little farther. It's going to be 76. You'll see the costs change. And as I continue to report damage, these will change. 5, 2, 2, 3, 7, 7. I'm going to show the process I do with damage reports. Logging damage reports is a big part of how I have managed to play this game. And I've enjoyed it because managing my spreadsheet, I don't know why I did 2, 2. This is probably 4, 6. Where am I at in waves? We'll find out in a second. Oh wait, I actually have it over here. This is my wave, 52. Bonk. But I'm gonna be on 77 here, and we're gonna consider that wave. There we go. Back to my waving build. Do I still have Power Glove? I have Power Glove. I forgot to take Power Glove off, which is good. I'm getting to a higher wave. Maybe I'll break my build. I'm gonna try and break my build today. That's the goal. I ought to share this. I was just sent a DM, which is great, that I'm gonna share, that has this. Do you like my cat? He do be vibing. And yeah, this cat be vibing. Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, thank you. That's how I'm gonna respond to that message. That's beautiful. That cat do be vibing. Thanks for that one. And we got activity over here on the Bunland Discord. I so appreciate everyone that's been spending time together in the Bunland Discord. That's a growing community that I've really been enjoying being immersed in. Links are in descriptions on YouTube and Twitch. If you're curious and want to join us in the burrow, please do. The play never stops. The stream goes offline, but the play goes on. I haven't done 3 waves probably. That's a little early to stop Grow Castle. Oh, but I do want to stop it and catch a damage report. So it's going to be from wave 399 now. It's the wave that I'm on. I'm still Power Glove, so I'm dominating the wave. And what I'm going to do when I do a damage report is I'm going to look at how does my target change. And what I'm really going to be looking at is this column. I have a suggested ratio, that my crazy sequence of algorithms. Oh, and when I say this column, I mean I'm referring to something that's not on screen. I'm gonna get my damage report here. I'm gonna do it. What I'm gonna be looking at is this column, current percent difference to suggestion. I'm being given a suggested ratio, and I'm at a certain ratio, and I want to know what's my difference, my relative difference to that. And I can see that Giants deserve a lot more money than they've been given. They're 10% below their target ratio. But these numbers are going to shift. Once I give them a damage report, the average is going to change slightly. And I'm going to be curious, I gave a lot of money to a lot of people. I gave 17 billion to Angels, 8 billion to Golems, 5 to Giants, 11 to Alice. Curious how their damages will change, how they'll scale, and who will pull ahead, who will start winning more money for the damage they're doing. Let's go ahead and dink-de-donk-dink. Cut out these damage reports. I'm just gonna take screenshots of the damage report and drop them in my Excel spreadsheet. Sorry, not Excel, I'm on Google Sheets. We're free to use, just like this game. I should mention I have made some purchases in this game. There are 2 permanent purchases you can make, and I'm happy to buy the game, that I've played for months. Ding, ding, ding. Set that up on an ad wave. So now I'm going to input this data. I'm looking at the damage Dorothy and Alice did, and then 31517. Dorothy and Alice are great. They're the witches. They summon. I'm going to put the game on screen for a second, they summon these skeletons. Dorothy does the ones that are mages that shoot little green balls. Alice is doing the archers that are shooting their little arrows. These two target so well. They really hit the bosses. They hit the bosses the whole time that the bosses run across here. So they're critical for my boss damage, and they're some of my top damage dealers. Let's talk about giants and golems. Giants on this wave scored over 1 billion. Golems are just behind over here at 900 million. Giants and golems complement each other. The golem... Here, we don't need to stare at that. I should switch over here where I'm inputting this data. The golem has an ability that says, I add a percentage of my attack power to the giants. I just make the giants better. And I'm like, okay, that's great, because giants are already a top damage dealer. They're right here at the top of the chart. So the idea that you'll make them better is great. Then I learned that golem is also a top damage dealer. And I'm like, well, that's great. I like this. This is kind of like a podcast that you know all about, isn't it, Carter? This is the podcast on Grow Castle. Why would you need to be sorry, Tristan? Bumland is a place you can stop and go in whenever you have time, as much as you like. I make the space available for you. I'm happy you had some time to share with us. We'll see you next time, Tristan. Thanks for stopping in. And yes, the golems there are promotions. You can kind of promote units into different versions that have different perks. The giants specifically need to be put on they have one of two tracks. They have to specifically be the stone giant to receive the bonus from the golem master. I've of course done so in my build. They are doing a lot of damage to ground troops. If we watch the wave for a second, you can see that everyone runs into them and the Ents right away, but the Ents aren't doing much damage. And it takes them a while to catch up to the bosses after the bosses come running past them. And so they're not doing as much of my boss damage, but they are helping me a lot with ground troops. They also provide a little bit of crowd control, because if a ground troop meets one of these, I gotta stop and fight this person instead of running to my castle. That's why we really don't see a lot of people get past all this, because I'm playing with summons and I've put so many units on the field in the way of people that they just can't get past, which is great. It's wonderful. That's what I want to see. So I know how they're contributing. If I was having problems with ground troops, I'd be thinking about leveling them. Let's talk about angels and town archers. Angels scored something close to their usual, as did town archers. They were a little above this wave. The angels and town archers are some of the units that are helping me cover flyers. Town archers have the best targeting in the game, if I ask. Why don't I run the tower altar, or am I saving XP for fun? The answer is, yeah, I'm saving XP for fun. It's useless. The XP that you get helps you get a variety of skills that are very useful, but once you've unlocked all the skills, it basically does nothing for you. There's some things you can spend it on that give you a bonus so small and so marginal that it doesn't matter. I am running an altar back here called the EXP tree. It increases the experience I gain in wave. The reason why I'm not running... yes, I'm just getting experience for fun, and because I want that marginal bonus even though it makes zero difference. Basically zero difference. And yes, the tower altar, there are some altars that give a passive benefit. Most of them only give their active benefit, which you have to spend some resources on. So I don't feel like spending my resources on the wave. I just want to run the towers, or the altars that have passive benefits. The tower altar is the other one with a passive benefit that Carter brings up. It makes your towers do slightly more damage. And most people will probably be running tower altar at this point in the game where I'm at, because the experience is just not worth basically anything. But I like getting big numbers and collecting things, so give me the extra XP. And my towers don't do very much damage anyway, so the bonus there would be pretty marginal. We'll turn on Do Not Disturb so I don't get my push notifications while I'm streaming. We're going to talk more damage equals... That's true, Carter, that you point out. One of these towers, it's this adorable little worm, this mana worm back here, the death worm. It attacks people through the ground, and the damage that it does helps recover your mana, which is useful because some people, like the Golem Master, have abilities that cost a fair amount of mana that want to have firing off the whole wave, and sometimes you have mana problems. Yes, if Deathworm did more damage, it would recover more mana. Unfortunately, not having mana problems, so I don't quite need that perk. That's probably one of the best things about that tower altar, is helping Worm. Worm's used a lot in the game to solve mana problems. Let's talk about Druid and Edward. Now we're getting down to some troops that are doing much less damage. You can see that these people are boasting about 4% or less of the total damage in my waves. 3, 2, 1. So they are doing some damage. I've tried removing them before and immediately missed the damage that they did or the buffs that they provide. But many of these units that are doing less damage are more worthwhile to me for other reasons. The Druid offers crazy strong buffs to everyone. I get 15% more defense. My summoned units do 30% more damage. If Druid did 0 damage, they would still be worth their seat. They're there for the buff. It's just a bonus that they do any damage at all. Edward is also here for a buff. Edward does 10% bonus to all my units in the field, which is a lot because of my build. So Edward's a lock. Edward's a really good seat. The barracks is just a tower, and my towers don't do much damage, so it's there. It provides a little crowd control. It's summoning a total of 4 units right now that storm the field and say, please don't storm my castle. We're gonna do another ad wave, and then we're gonna skip 20. Ooh, and we get to watch an ad for ×3 game speed. One of the ways to go faster is just straight up increase the game speed. You can set it to ×2 for free, but if you watch an ad or spend money, you can have ×3. Barracks, I should log the barracks damage. And then there's Lisa. Lisa is one of the witches, and all the witches provide a 10% damage bonus to all your units. So they have a very strong buff that, again, is like 0 damage, no problem. You've got a seat, you're good. As a bonus, Lisa's also sending out melee skeletons that are lost in the mix over here. You can't see them because I've got way too many units. Giants and Ents and stone golems that are huge. You can see them pop out every now and then when they chase people. They've got these little green scythes. Lisa, of course, is offering some crowd control for the ground units that way. Cool. We beat that wave. Let's watch our ad. Now we get money. 1 ad for game speed, 1 ad for money. The Worm, of course, is doing very little damage. It's just there to recover mana. And the Dark Hunter is here because it provides a buff to the town archers that makes them a viable damage source. And I'm using it. There we go. I've recorded a damage report for the wave. And it kept me occupied. I like logging damage reports because it's something to do while I run 20 skips and run ad waves. And now I'm going to glance at my current build. Things have shifted very little. I have a lot of damage reports down, so the averages are pretty settled, and irregularities in 1 damage report isn't going to change this very much. But I have spent a lot of money along the course of all of these. I changed items on someone at one point. I changed items on the orcs. Offline damage onto slowing. I spent billions, and billions of gold on my units. So what I'm curious about is, if I were to say take these 5 damage reports, after this point I started spending more and more money, and I were to delete them, we're done. Forget this part. That's an old build, that's an old distribution. What changes? Giants actually aren't scaling as well as I might have thought. They're kind of gonna level out. Everyone else stayed pretty similar. Didn't look like that changed much. 34 reports is a lot. I think that between 12, maybe 12 and up, I've got a really good stable average. So I'm gonna look ahead again and say, what if I just deleted a lot? I can afford to get rid of a lot of these damage reports that are old and see how these units have been doing with the money I'm giving them. Interestingly, I had some really high angel waves. The angels are requesting a lot less money now. So are the giants, which is interesting because these are people that I've spent money on. So usually what I expect to see is that they become more valuable because I'm getting rid of damage reports where they did less damage and only including the ones where they did more damage after I spent money on them. So seeing these numbers go down means to me that they're actually approaching where they'll level out, and they'll stop being worth the money to increase their damage, which is cool to see. I've still got 28 reports, which is a lot, and many of them are very old. So I'm gonna say, look, I spent like 50 billion there. Let's get rid of these reports that are before the time I spent that 50 billion and ask where things level out. The answer is giants are actually a lot stronger than you thought. There were some odd waves where they'd done little damage that I just deleted. And past where I've spent billions and billions and billions and billions on them, they're now saying, actually, I could take a little more. I'll take a little more. All of these units have improved. They're now saying I'm further below the suggested ratio. I should be higher compared to the damage I'm doing. That's more what I expected to see. At this point, I'm at 20 reports, so I think I'd like to add more reports before I deleted some to keep the averages really average and not irregular. But I'm seeing that I'm not done spending money on these units. Right now, my build's greatest weakness has been bosses. Those bosses are hard to beat. That's not happening while I've got Power Glove equipped, let me tell you. But, oh wait, I want to do a 20 skip. I want to do another ad wave because it's been long enough. Dink, 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 dink. So I'll do that, get some more money. I have grinded out like 15 billion in this play session with you guys, which is pretty neat. That's quite a bit. So that's exciting. I've got a lot of money to spend before my build actually evens out, and I've got all my money where it's most efficient, and I can start talking about making tweaks and seeing what my next need is. So it's going to take me a while. In fact, it's estimating that I've got a week until I make as much money as being asked by these units. And keep in mind that during that week I'm going to progress to a higher wave, and the relative level that I need these people to be is going to be a lot higher. So that's one thing to consider. So you know, there will be more money to spend than just that 7 days worth of money. But by sitting here ad farming, I'm getting way ahead on my gold, and that's going to make a big difference. Knowing a minimum is good for removing what is truly not needed, like the Power Glove. Yes. Yes. I'm trying to make a build that functions very well with the horn. I'm going to go ahead and do my 20 skip, and then I'm going to throw the horn in, and we're going to break this. We're going to break this build. We're going to get to a wave I can't beat. Come on. I know I'm on the edge of that wall. Let me hit it. Let me hit it. This is interesting. I've now noticed that at the current town archer ratio I'm at, I'm seeing that the amount of money that I'm going to spend on damage is much less than the amount that I'm overspending. So what I'm going to do to compensate is first I'm going to put the horn on my build. I'm going to lower my target town archer ratio because it's too high, which is really encouraging to see that as I've continued spending money on these units, they've become stronger such that I should not be putting my money into the town archers like this. 0.05, oopsie. At 0.05, your cost is too low. Let's bring you up, because remember, everyone's ratios are relative to town archer in my spreadsheet here. So if I raise the town archer, I'm also raising all my heroes. So at this point, my damage cost is higher than my damage savings. So I'm gonna try to target somewhere in the middle. That's very close. Let's inch it up. That's right on the money. After removing those old damage reports and saying, how's my build doing now that I've spent billions on these specific units that you said were the units that were best, it's improved. It has improved. Now it's going to take me even longer to get my archers down to their target ratio. But that's cool to see. That's encouraging. That after spending hundreds of billions, my build's getting stronger, at least by the numbers that I'm looking at here, how I'm evaluating it. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I should get another damage report. I'd like to move to a very current build and be able to trash a lot of these ones behind. So I'm going to take this one. Plus 2 waves. Yeah. Give me this damage report. Give me that juicy data. Bonk. And shooby dooby. Bonk. And shooby dooby. Bonk. Damage reports. Meanwhile, always be waving now that I've got that out and I don't have to hold you in a menu. This was 552462. And in this wave, my boss killing Dorothy and Alice. Top of the charts like always. Giants butting in as they frequently do. 999 million. What a fun number, golems, that you got this time. My angels do bonus damage to the flyers. They're good. They help a little bit with bosses too, but they don't do as much damage. 455 671. Orc and Lisa. 240 273 468 20. And the damages of these lower units are not quite as important because their damage is low enough I know I'm not leveling them. But I'm very curious all the time about what all the numbers are everywhere, even if they aren't absolutely necessary in determining where I spend my gold. I could probably do this a lot faster by just inputting data for my top 5 damage dealers, or my top 6, and moving on. But I really enjoy data entry, so I'm gonna do it. That's cool, that's cool. We're getting those reports. I've got enough to do another 20 skip, but I'm gonna run an ad wave first. We're gonna have a lot of money to spend. Let's see, I'm really looking forward to when I want to remove up to the point where I change Dorothy's item, because I think that's a big shift, big time shift for Dorothy, who has become much more valuable, is much less over than she once was. My town archer ratio is still pretty close to the target I'm looking for. My giants, golems, angels are similar. It actually didn't change too much. Alice actually became worth a lot less, which is too bad. I really wanted Alice to be efficient spending because I'm having trouble with bosses and I want my boss killers to be the ones that are scaling very well with the gold I'm giving them. This isn't to say that I haven't before deviated from what's recommended and been like, my need is bosses. And I know that it's not efficient gold damage per dollar, but I need my dollars working where my need is. Ooh, I didn't put on Power Glove. Let's see how I do with the 20 skip, which is usually about as hard as a +2 wave, but it would be a shame to throw this one. And Carter, yes, the items are the longest and most dreadful things. It's random. You roll up random items and you either get lucky or you don't. You collect your really good ones and you hold on to them. I won the 20 waves. That's good. That's good. Run me another double wave so I can get a damage report. This damage report's gonna be for this wave. And then while I input that damage report, I'll get to the next ad wave. And that's the rhythm of play. That's the rhythm of gameplay. And I'll keep doing that for a little bit until I can estimate a pretty good average with all current damage reports. I'm very excited to get a look at where my build is now instead of this fuzzy data that shows a lot of my build's progression over time. I want to get it really current. And I want to have a lot of money and I want to spend it all very well. I think that the numbers are going to be similar to what they are now, so arguably I don't need to take more damage reports. I've already developed a pretty decent guide. But there's that. Keep waving. And data entry. Dorothy, a star as always. Alice, surprised how low you scored. Giants, steady. Golems, about steady. Angels, right about where they ought to be. Archers a little high. The druid coming up in line. Ooh, orc did well. Not that it matters too much, but it's interesting to see that variation. Some units vary a lot more in the damage that they do, particularly units that only target flyers like the orc. Depending if the wave has a lot of flyers or not, they're going to do a lot or a little damage. Oh no, that wasn't the ad wave. I didn't have to cancel that one. 631216. I've been considering also what's your minimum and maximum damage report and how much percent variance is that from your average, so that I can get an idea of how much it varies in damage over time. And you'll see town archers are super consistent. My top damage dealers are doing fairly consistent, but then there's people like Edward or the Orc or the Barracks that vary wildly and have a very wide range. And yes, VV Tristan left, he had to go. Apologized before he did. I wonder if that wasn't in part because he knew that you appreciated his company. But I know that I appreciate yours. Here I am preparing for the next damage report. Gimme. I'm gonna want a lot of these to get a current read. I really want to, you know, as I'm taking these, I'm like, I want to see that you have near your minimum and your maximum in all the data that I'm considering, you know? If people haven't reached near their min or max, I don't think the data is complete yet. Let's run that ad wave. There's that. And let's do some data entry. Dorothy. 1, 4, 2. What is up with giants this wave? Look at them top of the chart. How exciting. That is not actually your max. Oh, and bye, Vivi. I'll see you next time. Golems. I think that tomorrow morning, morning for me in my time zone at least, I'll be doing a Bee-Swarm Simulator stream. Gonna play some Roblox. Town Archers, Angels did very poor. And interestingly, the Flying Orc did very well. So I know there was no shortage of flyers in this wave. So it's curious to me that Angels actually scored as low as they did. Maybe they just didn't get their critical hits this time. There's variance. A lot of variance. That's why we take a lot of waves. I just realized I need to catch and stop this wave. Bonk. Give me the ad. Give me the money. 718, please. I'm sure those 3 points damage on an irrelevant damage unit was important to log correctly. Alright, I've got 4 now. 4 current reports. At this point, when I logged that wave where Angels did very poorly, the Angels are now like, don't give me any more money. I've made it. That's it. That's all I'm worth. I lied. That's it. That's all I'm worth. So that's changed quite a bit. My damage cost is also much lower. My archers have been performing very well. So relative to the other people, archers deserve a higher town ratio, or target ratio. So we're seeing that shift. It's quite a bit. Wow, archers did very well in these recent reports. My target archer ratio is kind of fluctuating. That was the lowest I've ever seen it fluctuate. I've seen it fluctuate as high as 0.0525 as I continue to see variances in what my damage reports offer. It still seems to be staying around that range. I need a new damage report. I'm gonna delete some. No, I'm only at 16. I'm gonna save them. I don't want to make my data a little too wild and swing everywhere. Let's see. I think that I'm at an exciting threshold because I'm gonna double check. I get a new skill point at 55,000 or 553,000. I'm only 500 waves away, and there are thousands between that. All right, I'm glad you'll watch later, Vivi. We'll see how much longer I'm live today. I think that I'm gonna go to about 6:30. So I've only got 45 minutes left here that I'm gonna be chilling with Grow Castle. But if not then, I'll see you tomorrow in a game that you could join us in. I love that Roblox offers the opportunity for people to jump in on the fun. Bee-Swarm Simulator is a great game. It's one of the more popular ones on the platform and one of my favorites. Highly recommend Bee-Swarm Simulator. I love compulsively saving the game. Oh no, I forgot to take the damage report. Oh no, I did it so unconsciously that I didn't even realize what was happening. That is how much I have been playing this game, is that like all of that was just automatic. I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh, I did something without thinking, but I actually did everything right. That's another thing that I enjoy about a game that offers a lot of late game content is you become very familiar with it, and familiar things are very comforting. So having good old Grow Castle there to meet me at the end of my day is nice. 8731197. And what's interesting is doing a little damage in one wave or low damage in one wave isn't necessarily what'll make the suggestion change in my calculation. It's how much damage you do relative to we got a defeat! We got a defeat! Hold the press! We got a defeat. We finally broke the build. Now, if you get defeated 3 times in a row, it cancels your auto battle and it's just like, no, you can't do the wave. Look at that! Look at me get destroyed by ground troops and need Smith mid-wave. That's not okay at all. This wave is brutal. I know where my problem is. It wasn't with bosses. I expected it to be with bosses. It was ground troops leaking in. That means that I'm going to need to spend money on people that handle ground troops well. Or that are targeting. There it is again, right there in the middle of the wave. But this time I handled it. Look at that. There's a lot of variance. I got, I guess, a lot of lucky crits this time. And I managed to take him out. And then almost made it. But I took just enough chip damage that I couldn't handle it. And there it is. You were defeated. Take a back seat. Level up your heroes. Okay. Exciting. Finally made it. So now I'm going to consider what can I do here. I'm looking at my spreadsheet. Giants and golems both target ground troops and are requesting quite a bit of money. That's good news. I can give them money. Alice, requesting some money, also targets ground troops very well, in addition to the bosses. All 3 of these people are top damage dealers. My golems and giants are further back than Alice, so I know that their damage per dollar is probably even better for some of these earlier levels. And now we retire from Grow Castle, right? As soon as you lose, you're like, I quit. I can't do this. But I'm going to be paying off my golems, I think, because golems are also buffing the giants. And I've been really curious to see when I get my golems to where they break even, where am I at with my giants? Because then I want to pump my giants to where they'll break even. So what I've been doing is I've been giving a lot of money to golems and a little money to giants. I'm curious how little I can spend that'll actually make this work. I've got 46 billion at my disposal, which is a lot. I'm going to try. I'm curious how much it'll take. And I'm also going to note how much I spend here. Let's just hold this button down to 3, 4, 5, about 5 billion for the golems. Let's say I did 5 golem, and then I looked at the giants and I'm like, dude, you guys need a lot of money. I should be paying you off. 1, 2, 3. You don't need a whole lot. Just those 3. Think. And then I'm gonna say that I did 3 billion to the giants. Now, I'm looking at the level that you guys are. The stone giant is now a higher level, as are the golems. Golem master is now 16401. And we'll see it updated over here. Their cost to target adjusted. They're a higher level, so they cost more per next level. That's going to adjust my recommendation. Interestingly, I'll probably only spend maybe 60 to 70 billion to satisfy this current 110 billion projection, because they'll level up and this projection will go down as they're like, oh, actually now it costs more to level. You don't need to go quite as far. So there's a lot of reading between the lines in the data I'm being given, and I understand what I've calculated, so I understand how to interpret it. But it's not super rigid, straightforward. I have not done the math to figure out how much I expect it to drop in value. Let's take that wave again. I found a good hard wave. Get mobbed. Absolutely rushed by ground units halfway through the wave. Now that I've spent 8 billion on some meaningful ground damage sources, can they nail them down? I didn't even see it. When was it supposed to happen? 8 billion was huge difference. What ground rush? It didn't exist. This looks so... I basically not even hit. Now I fight bosses and they die. They did reach me at a really dangerous place in my necro cooldown cycle, so I needed to take quite a bit of damage while the bosses wailed on me, which I guess is why being given any amount of chip damage by the ground units was totally untenable and unrecoverable. But I do see some ground units still leaking. But goodness, did that make a difference. 552510. I really wish I'd caught the damage report for that really special wave, but it'll have to be this one. 552510. Whoops. Dink. Dink. Give me more. And I spent a little and not a lot because, first of all, I wanted to gauge how much a difference that would make. And the answer is actually quite a bit. 8 billion is still a substantial difference. So that's good to know. I'm gonna run another add wave and log this damage. Wow. Golems and giants outclassed both witches. That is new. That's very new. The witches have been my leading damage dealers for a long time. And in the next adventure, I see, okay, I've now got to show off Infinity Colony. There are a variety of different game modes available that present different challenges. I have focused most on waving because it's the primary way that you progress. So I've done all this math for my waving build. Let's talk about the Infinity Colony. There are colonies that you can colonize, and I want to talk for a moment about my imagined narrative for this game. That's a new maximum for Golem Masters. They have never performed that well in a wave. They're taking the money and running with it. The Infinity Colonies, or the colonies you can colonize, and they add to your passive income. So they're very important. You know, getting your passive gold is very important. Break the build. Do 20 skips recklessly. Who cares? Well, I will in a moment when I can't progress, but I have a lot of money, so I'm confident that I can break the build and keep it going for a while, long enough to like last overnight or whatever. I think I have that much money. 9, 5, 3, 5, 4, 8, 7, 1. And then we got the 30 million. 1, 6, 7, 3, 4, 3, 0, 1, 7, 5. Okay. Beep, bonk. There's the 20 waves. Here's a screen. This is the guild that I'm in. Which, content warning, there's that word. The Thunder Thumpers, the Thunder Thump, Thunder Fudge. This is how many waves we've completed so far in this 5-day season. You can see that there are some very competitive members of this guild that are ahead of Clever Bunbun. There I am. I've already cleared 15,000 waves, and we've got 1 day and about 12 or 14 hours left. I'm aiming to get at least 22,000 this season. This is the guild. This is the guild leaderboard. You know, the thing about the guilds is it's like, okay, well, your guild score is the collective of all of your waves put together. Now let's compare which guilds are competing well on that. We're a top 10 guild. We are consistently in the top 10 of the hundreds of thousands of guilds in the game, which is pretty impressive. We've grown to a good size and we have a lot of very strong waivers. I am happy to be among them and represent the top 10 of the guild, you know, to represent the stronger half of our strongest guild. Very proud of the Thunder Thumps and very proud of the place that I hold in the team. You get rewards based on, you know, these chests that give you the items that we mentioned earlier are so important. Based on your placement on this, we've been placing top 10 and getting our 5 every season, which is great. Let's talk about the Infinity Colony, because there are all sorts of colonies that you can hit, and once you've reached this point in the game where I am, where you're in late game, you've already done them all, and that's over. But the Infinity Town, the Infinite Town, goes on forever. Now, I've got this pressed at a level that I can barely beat it. It keeps getting stronger every time you beat it, and it also offers you more gold every time you beat it. And of all the passive gold sources in the game, this one does the most. I can show off in my spreadsheet that I've been considering what are my passive gold sources, and what percentage of my income do they represent. The amount of money I'm getting from colonies, which includes this infinity colony and is in fact mostly this infinity colony, is quite a lot. It's almost half of the total money I get. The other is from seasonal colonies that reset every 10 days and you get and give you money based on your wave. And the other is the tree, which is a tower that you can have equipped, that I have equipped, that gives me money based on my wave. Workers are passive gold, but it's very, very little. They're only relevant early game. After a while, they don't matter. You can see that I could have all 10 workers there working on gold instead of on dark crystals like we are, which is an important resource, and it barely makes a difference. Welcome home, my love. My fiance just wandered in the door. And I had forgotten to open the door and turn on the fan, so now it's really hot in here, sorry. I'll have to develop. Oh, you're giving me yerba mate? I was just talking about being tired.
We're sharing it.
We're sharing. I'm not being given yerba mate, I am sharing yerba mate. Sparkling grapefruit ginger, that's good. That's some good stuff. It's a lot of sugar. It's actually only 10 grams, so it's not awful. Not awful at all. Anyway, let's talk about the Infinite Town. The challenge here is to beat the enemy castle. They have their own town archers that are going to wail on your castle. They have a variety of troops that come out and try to destroy your castle. And you've got to keep them down and destroy their castle before they kill you. Now, my build's different. I've included some different units in this one. I've got this little friendly dude, the Dark Elf. I don't have... don't give me a drink. Don't give someone a drink and expect them to share. Right. Fortunately, I will. I'm good at sharing. This little Dark Elf fellow has lifesteal for the damage they do. That's pretty important in the Infinity Town for keeping up with the town archers. It is very possible to have your smith that we'd mentioned earlier cover the healing that you need. Especially when complemented with people like the Defender that give me 15% more health. I've got a lot of treasures on that increase my health or increase my defense. And then the rest is just doing damage to these ground troops. I've got this fellow, the Mechanical Rambo. We won. I'm strong enough to be able to take this. You can also take them 5 at a time. Similar to doing multiple waves at a time, you can increase the challenge. We'll see if I can beat that one. This dude has a huge splash damage attack that he does quite a bit. Especially when his ability goes off and he shoots really fast like that. And the splash damage, when paired with a little bit of knockback, or a lot of knockback, makes it so that the enemies stay pressed back, and it's really, really powerful for the Infinity Colony. Most people run Mech Ram on their builds for Infinity Colony. I've kept the Witches and their incredible buff. I've kept the Druid and their incredible buff. I have kept my top damage dealers, the Golem Master Golems, and the Angels. I have omitted the Dark Hunter, who would be either giving a buff to the Dark Elf in terms of attack speed and buffing my Town Archers, who have a 6th damage dealer. I have swapped them in for the Defender, who makes it important for me to be able to survive the Town Archer damage, the enemy Archer damage. I've included the mandatory ones like the Pure Wizard that reduces everyone's cooldown, and the Necromancer and the Smith. And that's what my IC build looks like. I used the units that I've already put money in for the wave build primarily here to keep it going. And ooh, we can see that I'm not keeping up on the ground. I would need to spend maybe more money on those golems and giants to progress in IC well. And this is interesting. You point out well that, Carter, there's a choice with the archers. You can set them to cannons instead of archers. And the cannons do more damage to an enemy castle. They're very good with siege. They also have splash damage, so they're pretty good with these units. But, as it turns out, ooh, I'm gonna die! We died. We couldn't sustain all that damage. I might just spend a little bit of money on my castle, because that's gonna make a real difference here. I think that having more health would have made the difference. update it on my spreadsheet. Go ahead and real quick, because it's been long enough, run me one of those happy little ad waves. Bless you. I'm not done with the hour to get to that next times 3. Anyway, how much longer am I going to stream? I was aiming to go till 6:30. Just about 6. Half hour. Yeah. And then I'll move into my evening with Nor and have a pleasant time. And I hope that you all have as pleasant evenings lined up ahead of you as I do, because I'm looking forward to mine. But yeah, usually town cannons are the choice here for the Infinity Colony. In my case, I need the town archers to handle the ground troops that come. They're slightly better at damaging the ground troops. And when I switch to cannons, I get destroyed by ground troops. So I've left them on archers instead of the more typical meta switch to the cannons. It's important to keep your your Infinity Colony pushed as far as it can, because it's just going to do so much for you in terms of your passive income and how quickly you can progress. It's pretty important. So I will, after having spent that money on my castle, I'm curious if that made the difference in what I needed to do for the Infinity Colony here. Because I died to town archers, so I know I need more defense, more health. Let's see how this works. And we'll see if I get a couple more really good belches on stream here. That is refreshing. And caffeinated. How nice. Hope y'all are getting your food and stuff, keeping yourself hydrated and the like. This is fun. This is going to take a while. Ooh, I'm getting destroyed by ground troops. I think I'm okay though. I've been practicing this one song. It's actually one that I did in Discord Sings a moment ago. I did my first Discord Sings. It was a request by a Bung kid, and I'm trying to learn it for them on the ukulele. And it's not necessarily the easiest, but I'm getting there. I'm about 2 days of practice in on an instrument that I will admit is not my most comfortable, but I've been really enjoying learning and picking up. But primarily I play wind instruments. I teach kids how to play recorder all the time. I've been thinking I need to have musical interludes. Maybe 6 p.m. is my musical interlude. Yeah, we're gonna beat it. We're gonna beat it. No, we're gonna get eaten by ground troops at the end. That was really close. That was really uncomfortably close, but we did it. We got a 5 skip on the Infinity Colony. I like running the Infinity Colony because it definitely makes it long enough for another ad wave. This is a song of my own invention that I actually wrote for a D&D campaign where I play a bard. It's a song called Soldier On that was dedicated to one of the other members of the party. Let's tune that down a little. I missed ending the wave. Could be a skill point gap. I mean, skill points will always make the difference eventually. Realize I should cut my Spotify. I'm trying to do musical interlude, but I'm going to take a break from that. Get back into catching the end of one of these gold waves so I can actually watch an ad and be well off. And this is why I enjoy Grow Castle as a game that kind of unwind and relax. It's one of these games that you kind of configure your auto battler to play itself. I just get to chill and watch it, while still feeling like I'm making a lot of choices that influence the outcome of the game, with the option to play manually if I want, which maybe I'll show. It's easy to do with the summon build because you just summon everything and you're like, well, you go do your thing. Only got a couple people with active abilities that really matter. Y'all just win. Let's see here. I don't know if no, I better start taking more damage reports if I want to look at a current one before I'm finished with the stream. And maybe, just maybe I can continue to break this. I'm gonna save my 31 billion and not try to push IC further right now. I always like to just kind of nervously check the leaderboard. Be like, how am I doing against my guildmates right now? 552, 537. And this is a really long session for Grow Castle. Like, it gets a little repetitive, of course, and the game is designed to well reward a really quick check-in here and there, and then let it idle and get a bunch of money and get a bunch of waves and come back and configure and, you know, catch up with your auto battler and see how it's, tune it up a little bit. So to play this long, you don't really need to progress. I'm of course getting a lot of money from all the ad waves. It's just a bit of work, and at a certain point it becomes a grind. It is perfect company to watching videos, watching a movie, just idly ad waving on the side while you enjoy something else and you're distracted elsewhere. It pairs well to other games. Yeah, that's true. Dragon farming. There's another mode. Carter, you were so great. I should share Carter in our guild. You mentioned you enjoy helping people, and that's part of the social element of the game that you really enjoy. And goodness do you. You love giving advice and helping. I enjoy having you here to help explain the game. There are dragons that you can fight, and they're going to require me to play manually, so I'm going to summon everything and beat it pretty fast because I'm a really high level for this challenge. And when you beat a dragon, it gives you an item, which is a cool way to get some of your items. A double cooldown sword, but it's very, very low on the cooldowns, so it's not worth it. They often give you garbage items. I've been getting my items this way. This is the way everyone gets their items. You get a bunch of these materials, stone. You improve them into better stone, and then you roll this happy little button to get some items, and I get something like this. This is actually not a useless ring. I've got critical damage, which is going to increase damage, attack speed, which will increase damage, and if people have an on-hit effect, it'll increase that frequency as well, which is nice. And then cold damage. This is, these all kind of work together. I've got damage, damage, damage. If I had a damage dealer, this might be an item I really wanted on them, you know? So I'm going to keep this one. A lot of items that you don't like just materialize. Do I have... I don't really have a lot of dark crystals to upgrade you. And I can consider you against my inventory. Oh, I should have... let me know in the chat how visible the Grow Castle window is while it's tiny. Because I realized that I had my spreadsheet up and not this. In terms of damage rings... I'll just start upgrading that and spending my dark crystals on it. I have some poison damage rings. I don't really have a cold damage ring. So that's a cool new addition to the collection. It still needs to be upgraded. But I'm going to log that it's here. I'll put it into my inventory spreadsheet. And I'll get back to upgrading it later when I actually have dark crystals. That's what my workers are working on. You can set them to either get you gold or to get you dark crystals. And of course, like I said, the amount of gold they give is marginal. So right now they're getting you dark crystals, which are more important. And let's, ooh, while you're here, Carter, I'll do it. I'll spend my L stones and I will get an exotic. These are very rare. They're very hard to get. It takes a long time to get this much dust. They're the yellow ones. They're very strong, and they come with an E line. You know, since it's the E item, we call it an E line. This yellow line that says, I'm going to give you a global buff. Here's 2.5% defense if this is equipped to a hero. Okay, looking closely, it's clear for you and you're on a phone. That's the best feedback. Thank you, Carter, because if you can see it on mobile, hot diggity hot dog. That's good. I'm going to do it. I'm rolling accessories right now. That's what I need, more than weapons. Give me a good one. Blah. Alright, so I'm going to talk about why this is blah to me. First of all, knockback is a crowd control effect. That's good. Critical damage is a damage effect. This is a mix. I don't know if I have someone that is a damage dealer that I want knockback with. Not that I probably want just a bunch of damage if they're a damage dealer. I'd want a lot of knockback and stun or something if they're a crowd controller. So this is already kind of two different colors. Then there's this line, 30 gold per hit. The gold per hit bonus is just, oh wait, I'm gonna switch screens here so it's big. I'm gonna remember. The gold bonus is so little, 30 gold is so little, I'm now making billions, right? That this is basically a throwaway line. Perfect gold skill is another thing that gets you a very marginal amount of gold. This is basically a throwaway. There's so much about this that's blah that I'm gonna very comfortably break it down for materials. And yep, there's always next time. There's always more stones, always more dust, always more. Just do it later. And in the meantime, I'll make more money. And then I'll get back to breaking my build. And getting damage reports with my last 15 minutes. Let's go ahead and log this one. All right. 1-240-228828. Everyone's, what are the angels doing up here? Look at you. And my flying orc didn't do well, so I don't know. It's not necessarily just a lot of flyers. I don't know what got angels to pop off of this wave like that, but that's variance. That's why we take the average. That's why I'm doing this. I wouldn't get an accurate read with just the one. Giants actually scored very low. I love how they're a billion and it's actually low for what they are. Golem Master is sitting also a little low. I should mention my spreadsheet's very colorful and the colors actually have meaning. I use kind of yellow, green, blue to indicate low, medium, high for a lot of things in the spreadsheet. And in this case, on my damage report, if somebody's damage is yellow that I've reported, it means it's closer to their minimum. It's on the low end of what they usually do damage-wise. Blue is going to be closer to their max and green in the middle. So like when I see Town Archers have an average of 490, so if I report them with 480, it's green, it's in the middle, you know, it's leaning yellow, but it's in the middle. So I get an instant idea of that was an absurd close to their maximum run for the Angels. That was a weak close to their minimum run for the Giants. So seeing that, I know Angels are doing very well relative to everyone else in this wave. I don't see a lot of other people hitting their maximum. It's not like it was just a wave with a lot of damage available to go around. We're just seeing that Angels popped off for a wave, and that's variance. Lisa. Seeing a lot of other people do low damage for their typical amount means that Angels are going to report to me that they deserve even more money for their exemplary performance in this wave. I'm going to take a gander of 552542. I'm going to first, of course, come over here and manage the game. Take this damage report. And then run a gold wave, because we're playing Grow Castle, and this is how we do it when we're playing actively. Goodness, it's a lot of work. Dink, 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 dink. Okay. Angels, how you looking? Actually, you were looking satisfied before, and now you're saying just a little bit. I'll take 5 billion, probably 2, and then I'll be even. and you know, my damage per dollar will be about as worth as much as town archers at this ratio, and that's the ratio that we're trying to equalize at for everybody. So that's interesting to see. I expected angels to be popping off a lot more, but I forgot that they were already over, you know, by the report. Here is my ad, and here is... Where'd the damage report go? Didn't I take a damage report? It's not here. Oops. There's always more damage reports. Let's go get one. I'm 12 minutes away from my ×3, which will happen after I close down the stream, so I don't think we'll see that in this session. I have 8. After this one, I'll have 8 damage reports that are current, or relatively. I mean, the 5/3 golem giant spend is pretty small, so I'm pretty confident that this data is really accurate. Now, spending 32 billion, goodness, I'm gonna drop these 2 waves. I just want to get a little closer, and I can do that and still have 18 and still have a really accurate average. We're gonna get there. We're gonna inch closer and closer to what my build's true recommendation would be. And again, like I was saying earlier, my recommendation was close enough to give me an idea of where to spend, and that's the purpose of my spreadsheet here. Keep on waving. At that point, I removed those 2 and the angels went back to 2%. I suppose that they had some really good performance in those couple waves. In spite of their really good performance on that other one, in that variance, their average is holding them right about here and seeing them fluctuate between the 0 and 2%. So I think I'm done spending money on angels. I spent a lot of money on them because I was having flying problems. Fortunately, after giving them money and getting them to ratio, to target, I've stopped having flying problems. I was very worried I would get them to their target and then they'd cross the line where I'm spending a lot more money for a lot less payoff, and they, you know, they'd fall apart there. I'd fall apart. My flyers would start killing me and I wouldn't have a good response to it. I'd be like, well, I just have to overpay angels to make this work, and it's going to cost it's going to be expensive and it's going to hurt. That's not the case. My build is set well enough that they're going to win, which is great news. Now, golems and giants, on the other hand, are scaling very well. And in spite of all the money that I've given them, looking at more current damage reports says we're doing very well with that money, and we'll take some more things. I'm going to run one more wave before I switch to the ad wave. I lost count of how many waves that was, but I'm just going to let it run another, just to be sure. There's that. Well, I guess I can see I took a damage report at 45, and I'm at 51. I need to clear 3, 5, 7, 9. This was the ad wave. It'll be the next. 1176 324 424 1193 689 931 960 460 660. Angels, archers. That's the end of that. Give me more money. Keep giving me money. Druid. 27. Oops. Window focus. 276195169 238 It's the Zen process of data entry. We just do it and we enjoy it. That's why we do this. We like playing this game this way. This is what I'll do. There we go. Bonk and bonk, bonk. Done with all that. Forgot to catch the end of that wave. Let's see here. Now sitting on this 18 damage reports. I want to drop 7 down to 11. I can do that. I just want to ask myself, from here on, do I see a min and a max? I do not see a minimum for Dorothy. Dorothy's minimum is that wave, and it's very low. It's impressively low. But it's also, I don't know, man. Alice got her minimum a little later. Giants got their minimum later. Ironically, after I'd spent 13 billion on them, they got their minimum, and the next wave. Funny. Because it was a wave that Angels did very well on. The Orc did not necessarily. Angels stole all the damage that wave. Huh. Do I have accurate data if I remove this? It's a lot of reports to lose to go from 18 to 11. How close do I get to this minimum? I guess I go from 979 to this 1042. That's the new minimum report I have for Giants. That's not awful. And I have been spending money on them, so I should expect that they'll improve. Oh, no. The new minimum will be this 928. That's right. That's good. They do have a minimum past this clump. The yellow, green, blue up here on the wave row is indicating these blue ones are waves that are really close to my current wave, and the yellow ones are really far off. So you can see a break here where it's yellow to green, and there's a gap of 4,500 waves in between them. So this is why I'm looking at this chunk. I want to remove this set and cut to where I'm at a higher wave and I spent it all on these people. Do I have a max Alice? Yes. And I have a min Alice. Or close to. No, I have a minimum Alice. Dorothy, your minimum would go up losing this. Would go up considerably. But that's kind of a fringe wave, that one I'm about to delete. In fact, I'm just going to take this one out because it's so irregular that I want to compare your mins and maxes to this. I will lose the minimum for the Golem Master. It'll be replaced by a much higher minimum. Well, slightly higher minimum. Maybe I can afford to do that. That's another one I've been spending a lot of money on, so I don't expect them to get back down to that minimum if I continue taking reports. So I think I'm okay with that. My Angels will retain their minimum, and I'll check for maximums in a moment. You'll retain a really close to your minimum. And that's the only ones that I'm going to consider. Maximums, yes, 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 yes. That's easy. You're all retaining your maximums. I think I'm ready. I think my data will be accurate enough and has enough to tolerate doing this and still report something really accurate. Now, 11 reports over 8,000 waves. We've narrowed the lens here. The data is much more focused. And the result is, Angels are falling behind. They're performing well, they're doing damage, that's good, but not like other people. Changing up my build has been costly, that's right, Carter. Whenever you bring on a new unit into the build, they're way behind in terms of level to everyone else. And right now, my golems are still behind in level to where they should be to be a part of this build the way I want them to be. Giants are way behind. So whenever you change your build up, it's going to cost you a lot of money to get it to a point where it performs as well or better than before. But I'm doing a lot of math to estimate that it will perform better, and that it's worth the time to be a little weaker and be stuck on my wall now here, when before I was just cruising for the improvement. And yes, it's been very costly. I'm in the 100 billions range, around 500 billion costly. So yeah, it has been. Interestingly, my town archers are performing a lot better relative to my heroes now. Let's just bring that up. Nice. This is a higher town archer target than I've had for a while. It's higher than I expected to wind up. Interestingly, Alice has come a lot closer to even. She was falling behind for a little bit and needed a lot of money, but considering the more recent data, Golems and Giants are so good, have been scaling so well, that they're taking the attention away from everyone else. Just give it to us. We're the good ones that are actually hauling the weight here. Forget everyone else. That's interesting to see that as I've spent money on all these units, Angels tapered off, stopped benefiting from it. They've reached a little bit of a plateau. I'll keep them at this ratio, that's fine. Golems and Giants are still scaling with it. They're taking the money and they're getting better. So they're asking for more. And I'm happy to give it to them. It looks to me a lot like they will be overtaking the witches as my leading damage dealers by the time I'm done with them. I am amazed at how much they're requesting. I have spent hundreds of billions, and still the build is reporting, you're about 450 billion off from where you should be if you're even, where everything should be. And I know that as I give them money, they're going to be like, well, my damage increased. Now I need more money. Which is cool to see that as their level cost is increasing, their damage is increasing at a greater rate. They're scaling very well together. Needs more damage reports, because I could bring it even more current. 8,000 waves is a pretty wide splay. And it is 6:26, at least in my time here in LA. I'm looking at 4 minutes before I'm reaching my target stream end. It's been real. It's been fun. But when Bunbun closes the live, the fun never stops. Bunbun's still available on Discord. Follow me on Twitter and stuff. All of that jazz. Always around, you know? It's like, people are always still there. I almost just started logging it, but I want to copy it over and keep waving. Always be waving. That's how we be competitive. We don't waste time menuing. No. It's just always moving. Okay, Carter, so at your level right now, you're making about 5 billion overnight. Very cool. And you level people pretty evenly, which is usually a decent approach, I think. Because you're not going to miss anyone at worst. Wow, Angels. Wow, look at you. Maybe you'll win back your deserving of money. Or especially if I've got the golems and giants performing so poorly this wave. This is an interesting wave that'll shake up my data a little bit. This is why we take a lot of waves. Look at them both scoring very low. I imagine Dorothy and Alice got their damage from the bosses. We'll see in a minute here if other ground units did less damage. I'm suspecting a flying heavy report here. 502821114. No, I see flying orcs are not high, actually. Never mind. 5899028992746668889. This is interesting. This is one of those angels and archers stole all the damage waves, and everyone else got their slim pickings. Very interesting distribution, very irregular. We need to average it. Bonk. Caught that. Give me money. Thanks. And 3574112 4145734. Bonk. That's that. Bump, 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 bump. Beep, boop, boop, gone. That's how we do a damage report. Now at 12 reports, and angels are still not worth it. I could have sworn that you were gonna get it. Alice got hers back. Angels. And you see, this is where, like, I appreciate all the math I'm doing, because if I'm playing intuitively, I'm looking at angels scoring high and I'm thinking I should give them money. When I'm doing the math of how they're performing relative to other units, it's actually not as stunning as you'd think. Surprisingly, when you go through the math and really comb over it and do all the math and come down to the bottom line, that would have been a very misleading figure. And this is why I'm taking it all down and averaging it and spending my money as efficiently as I can possibly determine and approximate. It's going to be going to the golems. I know my giants are further behind, but I want to see how far my golems go. And 629. All right, this is the last damage report. We made it. I'm going to do one more damage report, and then I think I'm going to be bold, and I'm going to wipe it to perfectly current. And we're going to see where I wind up. And this is the fun part. I love watching my data change, you know? Just watching the data that goes in and seeing the data that prints out is so entertaining to me. I love math. This was 552573 that we completed. It included Dorothy's photo finish first, as usual. Giants are usually second. Everyone's in order. Everyone is average. This is the most remarkably average wave. Look at everyone's just this green. Wow. And you're a little low. Low enough that Edward placed above you, and normally you'd place above Edward. Edward did a lot of damage. for what they usually do. Not a lot because they're not a damage dealer. They're just a little bit of support. 3396 is what I meant to say is for you two. The barracks that I skipped was that. I am glad to hear that you're enjoying watching the data progress, Carter. That's cool. I'm glad this is entertaining to people outside of me. So when I add that, my angels got a little better. Golem's Giants still freaking fantastic. Alice just a little behind. Now I'm going to take... I can see the line here. Here's the yellow. Here's the average. I'm looking forward to seeing... I'm spanning 8,000 waves. Bye-bye. Oops. I got to get rid of one more. Bye-bye. Spanning 174. That's a current report. 10 reports over less than 200. How do I look? I look like forget angels. Oh my goodness. Stop leveling your angels. Alice doing all right. Golem's Giants actually paced pretty evenly with each other as I've continued to spend money on them. Now that I'm down to 10 damage reports, adding more reports may make this vary a little more. But I'm getting a clear picture here. I've watched the fluctuation. My archers are coming up. I'm starting to meet the middle where my heroes are kind of leveling out and showing a more accurate, relevant town archer ratio that they'll meet in the middle at. I imagine my town archer ratio will increase a little more as I continue to level them. But I'm getting close. I'm getting much closer to evening up the build, and that'll be exciting because then I'll really get to evaluate when I put the money where I think I should put the money. How am I doing? Is it good? Do I need to change anything? And that'll be that. That's a good long grow castle sesh. I am very ready to just leave it and let it idle. Come back to it, give it a little love, see where it's at. I think I'm going to let the triple horn run too. Just see how long... it's going to crash. I might run it with the power glove just to be safe, and then when I'm coming back and I'm watching it, I'll throw the horn on there and watch it crash and see where to spend my money. I don't feel like spending my 38 billion right now. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to give a little bit of it. I'm leveling some people on the bench because once you get someone to level 10,000, you get a skill point. And I know that 8 billion is a big difference. So 25 billion ought to be plenty to hold on to. And I'm very excited about buying out this skill point. So I'll give you some money. We're getting closer. Closer to buying another skill point. That's important. Alright. Thanks for joining the fun in Bunland. It's been real. It's been real grow castle-y. I'll be live again tomorrow. Gonna play Beast Swarm Simulator. That's at my 10 in the morning. It's really a stream to catch some players in the UK that would like to play Beast Swarm, and they're 9 hours ahead of us. So at least us in LA. So that, you know, I'm doing the early morning weekend stream to catch them. Normally I'm at school during that time, but that'll be fun. It'll be cool to get some time with that crew and that crowd. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone. Catch you again next time.